a bit about, first start off with Google CEO Sundar Pichai. It's I like to start off with this quote because I think a lot of people maybe underestimate the impact that this has the potential to have on business as well as kind of broader society. With him thinking that it's going to be as profound to humanity as fire or electricity, whether that's going to be maybe the industrial revolution or the internet or the iPhone. I think the one thing that we can tell today is even if they stopped all development of new AI technology, it would still probably take a decade to get all the value out of it because it's been growing in capabilities so quickly. Bit about my background. So my first job in tech was for an AI company in Berlin, got me really interested in the space. We used to have AGI meetups at our office. After that, I was running operations for startups in internet, Internet of Things, e-commerce, first full-time employee in fintech. Then I moved out to the UK about 6 years ago from Canada. I was running digital transformation teams for a company called Veolia. So large waste collection, very different from the startup world, but across all of those roles, it was all about getting value from technology and helping people make decisions with data. So working with everyone from lorry drivers up to C-suite on how to use technology better to drive growth, efficiency, and revenue across the business. And then when I saw ChatGPT come out, after fighting for years for 1, 5, 10% efficiency gains, I saw a tool where we can get 25% to 95% efficiency gains. So I transformed my role. I was at an altnet called Up into leading AI at that business. And then when we were acquired, I started my own company, ErictronAI. And what I do is I try and just help businesses understand and get value from AI, from education to opportunity assessment to hands-on implementation support. So ChatGPT is the fastest growing product ever, with hitting 100 million users in 2 months, now at over 350 million monthly users. Now you have your traditional AI, like what you see on Netflix, where Google Maps is sending you. But with tools like ChatGPT, it's using technology called generative AI. And it's called generative because it's actually generating something. So text, audio, images, and that's what we'll be talking about today. And now you're starting to see AI everywhere. So built into Microsoft's Copilot, Google with Gemini, across Salesforce, HubSpot. It's everywhere, but that doesn't mean it's always easy to get real commercial value out of it instantly just because it's there. So touch really briefly at a high level on how it works. Essentially, they take a ton of data. So Meta's new model trained on about 10 trillion words of data. So think all of the text on the internet. And they do something called that training process, which is incredibly expensive from an energy and chips point of view. So they estimate it took ChatGPT 4 about $50 to $100 million to train. OpenAI spent $3 billion training models in the last year. So significant amount of investment going into this. And then what you're done with when you finish your training and some post-training steps is kind of a foundation model. So with a large language model, when you put text into it, what it's doing is that it's actually predicting the next word. So if you say the sky is, the statistically most likely next word in that is the sky is blue. If you say, I want a marketing strategy, it will pick the most generic marketing strategy because it will be picking the most statistically likely set of next words. If you say, I need a marketing strategy for my corporate training company, I'm based in the UK, here are my customer personas, here are my objectives, here's what's worked and what hasn't in the past, here's what channels we want to use, you'll start to get something really unique because it's taking all of that information, all of its knowledge that it's been trained on, and then predicting the next token of the next word. So that's why kind of having and giving it that context is what's going to put you in a place where you actually get something unique and valuable out of it. Now, it can make things up. So you want to make sure that you're kind of combining your expertise with the power of the tool. If you're using it to do something totally new, then you need to make sure you're also doing your fact checking there. But it is possible to manage those limitations, whether you're integrating it with platforms you have or whether you're using it in day to day. Now, they're spending more and more money on training these models. We're looking at single models with billion-dollar training runs in the future. And you can see from the graphs here, OpenAI's new O1 model having massive leaps in certain areas. So going from 11% to 89% on a competition code test that they do. They kind of give tests like you receive in school. And we're going to continue to see some big leaps over the next few years. It doesn't look like the scaling and capabilities are going to slow down anytime soon. So in software development, they're seeing 55% increases in productivity with initial studies. I'm seeing anywhere from 100 to 300% gains, depending on the type of work people are doing. In law, getting 90th percentile on the bar exam. These tools are being tested in major hospitals and clinics around the world, and it's now beating PhD experts in areas of their own expertise as well. So while they do have have their limitations, they're also quite powerful. Sorry. Excuse me. There's some real world examples. You're just starting to see it roll out more and more in, sorry, excuse me, in production. The last years, a lot of companies have been doing a lot of testing with mixed success as far as going from that proof of concept to actually being using it in day to day. But you've got Optimus Energy handling 44% of their customer service queries, Klarna handling 2/3. In pharmaceuticals, you've got Moderna with 100% adoption across the entire business. Their usage rates are crazy, whether it's in legal or operations. Even their science teams are using it. In sales, I see customers seeing anywhere from 25% to 95% gains when it comes to reviewing and then responding to tenders. Yeah, Paul.
Hi, Eric. Just for these real world examples, so for the Octopus Energy thing, customer queries are being handled by AI. How does that practically resonate? In what way exactly is AI engaging with these customers? Is it a chatbot? What is it?
So with Octopus Energy, as far as what I've been able to tell from what they've actually written up and published on it, I think there's two different ways they're using it. On one, using it to actually respond to customers, where the question is the type of question that it's allowed to respond to. And on the other side, it's writing a response on behalf of the customer service person to review and then submit. So with customer service, it really depends on the complexity of your business, and what you want to do is kind of have a lot of confidence in the types of questions you want AI to answer, and you might have simpler if this then that rules, where it doesn't add value or where that type of query needs to go to a human. Um, so I think they're starting with a more cautious approach, and then as capabilities grow and they get more confident in its ability to answer questions, they start expanding the number and types of tasks that it can respond to. A
So,
lot of
so
companies I work with. Sorry, what?
it's email responses. I'm just trying to get my head around how this is
Oh,
practically
okay, so yeah,
working because
email and chat. Um,
email
oh
and
yeah,
chatbot. Okay, yeah.
yeah. OpenAI about 2 weeks ago released the API for their advanced voice mode, which has the same latency as talking to a human. So I think we're very close to seeing a lot of actual phone call centers being done with AI. And so everyone understands the cost there, I think you're looking at about £12 an hour if it's talking nonstop. So I mean, in somewhere like the UK, think about something that can work 24 hours a day, and the churn rates in contact centers, we're going to see some big impacts there. Um, and they did a study with consultants as well. Harvard did a study. So GPT-4 without any training up front, they found consultants were able to finish 12% more tasks, 25% faster with 40% higher quality results. And in those scenarios, they found that um, it lifted up the lowest performers the most, but it was still lifting up those high performers as well. So then another place we're getting to is agentic systems. So everyone's used to kind of talking back and forth with the chatbot, but now we're getting to a point where you can actually give them an objective. So with tools like Replit, you can say, I want to build an app that does this, and it will go out and it will take all the steps you need to build an application, writing the code, putting the code into the files, creating the files, and doing everything within the IDE. So you're actually then left with a working application, and that shift from request to objective, where it can go out and take multiple steps interacting with different tools in the real world, is where we're going to start seeing some big interesting impacts over the next few months. So when you're using the tools, you want to make sure that you understand which tools you're using. If you're using ChatGPT free, you want to make sure you've turned off train on my data. And then you also want to make sure that your business understands what the terms and conditions are. Every tool has different privacy policies depending on the plan that you're using, and everyone's got different levels of sensitivity. But for example, if you've got employees cutting and pasting whole email threads with customers into the tools, you want to make sure you understand where that data is saved, what their retention rules are, etc. From a reputation point of view, when you're embedding in your business, you want to make sure that there's a workflow in place so a human remains accountable. AI can't be accountable for AI. You want to make sure that there is a human accountable for the process that's leveraging AI. And then you do that through kind of having clear policy and governance. And when I work with businesses on the policy side, one of the things I stress is your policy shouldn't just be a list of no's. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. The policies should really be looked at as a way of encouraging and empowering innovation and experimentation, but safely and within their guidelines. So people really easily understand what it is they can do, and the different things that they should avoid, and they understand the why behind it as well. So when you're thinking of breaking it, like kind of integrating it into your business, you can think of a workflow. Let's break down a number of different tasks. Every task takes an amount of time, resource, knowledge, and skills to generate some kind of value. And then you can use AI to reduce time or resources required, enhance expertise or skills, and generate more value. So case study I like to talk about here, had a client in the energy industry. They wanted to use AI to kind of accelerate how fast they could write feasibility studies for their customers. But we found that their engineers were very technical, their customers were very non-technical, and their engineers weren't very commercial. So rather than just looking at the value it could have from an efficiency point of view, we also used AI to kind of adjust the copywriting to make it more accessible for their customers. So increasing the value of those reports to their customers, as well as taking all those recommendations for things that they could actually provide and automatically writing a commercial section and a bit of a proposal within those documents too. So rather than just looking at efficiency, looking at more broadly, what are all the different ways that AI could enhance this process and this workflow to generate revenue and customer value rather than just kind of that pure efficiency side. When you're building your workflow, you want to make sure you're organizing your data with it. One of the places that people go wrong a lot with these tools is it's when you're working with them for the first time, or when you just start working with them, a lot of people talk to them like they're talking to an employee. But a lot of things people forget is that employees have a lot of information and a lot of context about your business and the situation. So if you ask someone to create a presentation on a certain topic, they understand that topic, they understand your preferences, they understand your relationship with the person that you're presenting to, they understand your objectives. But when you're giving an AI request, you need to make sure you're actually giving it all of that information. So imagine treating it like a brand new, very capable employee, but with no information about your business. Now, if you want to make that faster, you can use GPTs and ChatGPT or projects with Claude and kind of pre-store different workflows in there where it has all the context, whether it's about your business and your services, or if you're doing marketing, your customer personas, so that every time you want to write a good prompt or you're going through a workflow, you're not writing in pages of documents each time to make sure you get that efficiency out of there. You want to make sure you have a goal, an instruction and an action, and then just continuously improve. There's no best prompt for everything. It is what's called non-deterministic. It doesn't give the same response every time. So you just want to make sure you're adjusting things over time and keeping an eye on it, especially as new models come out. I think one of the key things here is that this is the worst AI will ever be. If you see something fail today, it might disappear tomorrow. So I had a workshop with a client on Tuesday. They asked me, can AI navigate to a PowerPoint and just go change one slide for me? And I said, no, we're not really at that stage yet. And before the meeting was over, Anthropic, who builds Claude, released computer usage, and that's now possible if you've integrated that onto your machine. So things are really accelerating quickly as far as those capabilities go, and the limitations are just disappearing. AI has opened up a lot of opportunity within automation. Historically, you could only do automation with pretty deterministic tasks where it was clear if this, then that. Now that it can understand the context, you can use it in things like customer onboarding, financing tasks, follow up, customer service, contract creation. It really opens up a lot of opportunity to easily create automation flows for really repeatable tasks within your business. Um, Transcripts are, I think, one of the most underrated things with AI tools. Now that it can perfectly transcribe a conversation, and tools like Firefly can label the speakers. When you have those transcripts, you can drop that transcript into so many different workflows that just speed things up immensely. So creating a proposal when you're talking to a client, giving a pitch for the first time, making sure you're asking the specific questions, and then just dropping that transcript into a chat tool with your template for your proposals and maybe a couple notes, and having it go from that pitch to proposal in minutes rather than hours, at least getting you that first draft. For tender writing as well. I've done some projects working with teams on tenders, and they have internal discussions about kind of how they're going to handle different points on the RFP, how they want to provide those services. And then rather than taking a whole bunch of notes and having to write everything into the system, taking that transcript and then again, instantly getting that response, that initial tender draft. You still want a human doing it. But you can also have these automatically take notes and sync them with your CRM for the customer you were talking to, automatically create tasks in your project management software. And I think we're going to see a lot more capabilities like this coming out as well over the next few months. Lead, I call this one lead enrichment because that's the demo I'll show you. But I think in general, everyone's got a ton of data where it's either qualitative or maybe they only have a URL. So imagine you have a list of customers who have subscribed to your newsletter, but no other information about those customers. You can now use AI to say, go to every single one of those URLs, pull out information about it, whether it's quantitative, like just give me a category so I can see, dashboard or report what my customer segments are because I don't have that information. Or I want to pitch all these customers. So go out and find all the services that they offer and how they position those services, and then go and write me copy for each one of those. So gotta love a live demo, but we'll see if this works. This is a basic tool I built. I built it with Replit. Essentially, you just upload a spreadsheet. It shows me a data preview. This only has one URL, but I can select the column. Go. I then use the Perplexity API. If you haven't heard of Perplexity, it's kind of like ChatGPT, but it can do web search. And then it goes row by row to each of those URLs and pulls out whatever information I want about it. So you can really take like a newsletter list and get a ton of insights into who's subscribing to your stuff, for example. I've got a project on at the moment where one of my customers doesn't have a service desk. So we're exporting all of their customer service emails because they've got no data about their customer service tickets. And then we're going to run a whole bunch of analysis across that and develop kind of a clear quantitative picture of what are the actual questions people are asking, what are the resolutions, and then you can see here it went to each of it only did 10, but you can see it went to each of the websites and then gave me a breakdown of the services that they offer. You can do this with tools like Clay, and there's a lot of other kind of more expensive enrichment tools out there. I'm considering selling this, but you can also build it yourself in something like Replit without coding capabilities. But you're looking at spending like thousands a month, especially if you have a decent sized list of customers. To do the URL, one where it does the web search, you're looking at £5 per 1,000 searches and another £3 per 750,000 words input and £15 per 750,000 words output for the most expensive. So you're looking at price cuts of 95% compared to a lot of those types of enrichment tools. but you can also apply it to a whole bunch of your own qualitative data, turning it into quantitative data. You can also use tools like Claude. So Claude has the ability to write applications, which you can then use within the tool. So in this example, I've asked it to create a front end for the app that I just showed you. It's going to keep writing it. So while it's writing that, I'll jump in and show you ChatGPT has a tool called Code Interpreter. So if you're not a data analyst, you don't like doing a ton of complex VLOOKUPs, you can put anything, you can put multi-million line Excel or CSV files into ChatGPT with Code Interpreter, and it will write code. It might be bad at math, but it's really good at writing code. So it will then write code to actually give you charts, do in-depth analysis. The type of analysis I've been able to do with ChatGPT Code Interpreter is stuff that I would have needed a team of analyst experts in the past to do in past roles. So a lot of, especially smaller businesses, can't justify a full-time data analyst. They have a lot of insights they want to get out of that data. And this gives them a massive tool. So you've got enterprise companies using that. This is just my LinkedIn engagement data. So it's a really simple data set, but I just asked it, look, plot my monthly impressions and my monthly engagement rate on a chart. And it writes all the code to put all that together, and then it just creates me the chart. It's great with doing different types of churn analysis, revenue analysis. And now Claude has finished writing the front end for the demo piece here. Oh. So, oh, so it doesn't work sometimes. I'll show you a working version it did. Apologies. It's decided to not work and then get rid of the artifacts. So the joys of live demos. But anyways, you can see that, I mean, I'm not a developer, but I can now build applications. I'm not a data analyst, but I can now do expert level data analysis, working with clients to really turn that rich qualitative data they have into something actionable and building the tools to actually accomplish it rather than spending thousands and thousands of pounds on developers to do something custom. Another way to look at it is turning that customer feedback. So whether it's reviews, emails, surveys, and then turning that into actionable content for your marketing team, your operations team, from a reputation management point of view. Yep, Paul.
Hi, Eric. Sorry. So, which
No worries.
again, I don't want to be negative here. Which industries run the risk of sort of real challenge through AI, and similarly, and from a positive note, which have the greatest opportunity?
Are you talking about which industries you think will be threatened by AI?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Outsourced customer support, I think, is probably your one that's going to have the biggest threat. Um, Agencies are in a weird place where it's a threat, but it's also an opportunity. Um, I've got a big agency client, and while it's a threat to some of the services they can do because it might enable their customers to do it themselves for cheaper, when you combine their expertise with the capabilities, they'll also be able to go and look, we're actually building stuff to actually provide them entire new services, and use that AI to generate more value. So within all businesses, I think it's going to be a huge opportunity to actually generate tons of efficiency. And I think it's all about going beyond that efficiency as well. It'll be a bigger threat for the businesses that say, oh, well, I think someone else is going to build a tool for this in the next year or two, and then waiting for that tool to come out. If you're a business that has the capabilities or you're in a position where you want to get ahead, I think it's if you think about innovation as just using the tools available, the capabilities are growing so quickly and it's enabling and empowering people to actually build these tools themselves, that you want to think about inventing. You shouldn't just wait for someone else to build the tool you need to be competitive, but invent something new that sets you apart. And those are the most exciting conversations I have with customers. what's more transformational. But starting to build those skills and knowledge internally gives people the understanding, so they start to understand what those transformational opportunities might be. Um, just conscious of time, but again, I think it's all about taking that quantitative data as well and turning it into something actionable. So I ran like customer operations teams, and a lot of people don't understand that a lot of the reason customers reach out for issues, if you had those insights, you could stop them from. It's not just about responding to them automatically with AI, but using AI to understand why they're reaching out, understanding how you can design or develop that customer journey to stop them from reaching out in the first place, and creating feedback loops. So whether that's feedback loop to your marketing team to say, look, you might be missetting expectations here, and that's generating queries, or it's generating negative reviews, or your operations team around service delivery, um, your customer service team itself to understand what are the types of common questions so you can optimize their training, even creating simulations of customer interactions for new customers. You can do that quickly and easily. And the best part of this is that the best AI models in the world are accessible to anyone. Enterprise companies don't have better models. For 20 to 30 pounds a month is the most you'll spend on accessing kind of the most powerful models. And all of the use cases I talked about here require very little to like almost no technical expertise. And it's all about just getting your team started, getting them to start building those skills, understanding where those quick wins are, and kind of looking at it from that. Building that knowledge and those skills is building a foundation off of which your business will be able to kind of navigate kind of as the future starts to change really quickly. The way that I work is I've work a lot. I mean, I do all sorts of types of consulting, but I found workshops are the best way to start engagements with a business. Um, all about developing those skills, but in the context of what their business does, setting workshop outcomes and objectives that are in alignment, and then actually doing hands-on development of actual solutions within those workshops, rather than people doing random free online courses and then over time figuring it out, kind of making it a more collaborative. So a workshop is almost like a full consulting engagement, but really crammed into anything from like 2 hours up to multiple days over multiple sessions, sometimes running kind of more competitive hackathon style, as well as ongoing support. And when companies want support with implementation, I do go away and actually build out the solutions and workflows if they don't have time. So yeah, hopefully that was useful and helpful. I'd love to hear kind of how people are using it day to day already.
If I'll,
Thanks, Eric.
I'll kick off if you don't mind, Ollie, just to get
Yeah,
the discussion
far
going.
ahead.
Yeah, Eric, always good to hear from an expert who's up to speed on this. We've been using AI increasingly, we first noticed it, not strategically, but we noticed it when we watched the quality of the output from our consultants skyrocket. I'm talking about written reports where perhaps your English isn't your first language, and we had all sorts of systems in place which involved my wife proofreading everything. June last year, it changed overnight. It went from a 30-page report taking her 2 or 3 hours to turn into English to it taking her half an hour just picking out the odd Z and turning it into an S. And I confronted the most outstanding change. It was a Chinese lady. And I said, come on, you subbed this out to someone, haven't you? And she said, no. She said, there's this app that I found which translate. Actually, she did tell me what it was. It wasn't ChatGPT, it was something else. That translates Mandarin into virtually any European language. And so we learned a couple of things. Firstly, that this app is brilliant. And secondly, she could write brilliantly in Mandarin, which of course we had no way of judging before. So that's when we first came across it. And and that's had a dramatic improvement in quality and efficiency. As we've now got Copilot Pro. That's made a huge difference. But we've also been using e-discovery tools, which is machine learning, and what we've got a particular product that we're using, which has been excellent, but their days are numbered, because I'm certain Copilot Pro in a few months or a year's time will replicate its capabilities entirely. It do about 3/4 of it at the moment. So yes, dramatic. I was very interested to see your presentation on lead enrichment, because that's where we've developed some clever prompts which actually don't work at the moment in Copilot Pro. They've disabled a few functions. There's obviously a problem, but tell me they will be reinstated sometime next month.
Okay, interesting.
Well, Copilot Pro won't read a web page now in Edge.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Well, we have to go back to it the old-fashioned way, but if it's for a month, we can live with it.
Yeah.
But that particular thing that we had, it turned a 2-hour job into a 10-minute job.
Oh, it's incredible. I can do hours of research before a pitch to a client in seconds. And I think another way to think about this stuff as well is it's not just the things that people are doing today and how can do them faster, but what are all the things that you just don't do? I mean, how many companies spent hours researching every single client they're about to talk to? So they might not think that, oh, now that I can do this instantly, maybe we should start.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, even if you do research clients using this technology, you can do it 10 times. You can go 10 times deeper.
Yeah.
You have 10 times as many resources, and massive difference. So yeah, I mean, we are obviously, we're like everyone else. You have to pedal quite fast to keep up nowadays. So pace of change will accelerate, obviously.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it sounds like you guys are on top of it. And I think, the next 6 to 12 months are going to get very interesting as we get more of those agentic capabilities. Satya from Microsoft put out a very vague blog post about autonomous agents in Copilot, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that brings.
It's interesting. We've got to the stage where we wanted to do things that they say we can't do at the moment, but in a few months' time there'll be an upgrade you can pay for. And I thought, yeah, okay, that's why they're one of the most valuable businesses in the world. So, we don't know the technical terms for what you're saying, but I recognise what you mean by an agentic system.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
what I do.
Yeah, go out, just give it an objective, and it'll figure it out. I was playing with the Claude computer control on Wednesday morning. And I said, all right, well, I wanted to introduce itself on my LinkedIn as my new employee. I said, all right, go research the blog post about yourself, then write a LinkedIn post about yourself, then go to my LinkedIn and then post it on LinkedIn. And it would have done it, but it's not allowed to post on your social media for a safety and spam reason. So, but it did all the other steps. It just went out, found the different websites, and just crazy.
Yeah, and that sort of stuff. We didn't know what to call it, but that's what we want it to do. So
Nice.
we're going to do it within the Microsoft platform, just for those security issues that you mentioned.
Yeah, you definitely want to be careful with what you're.
Yeah, we've got to be very careful with our own data that doesn't leak out. So, but they've given us the assurance, and all of our IT providers assured us that is safe. So that's what we're doing.
Nice. Yeah, it's a solid platform for sure.
Yep.
Anyone else have any use cases or questions?
Well, I can tell you a little bit about how we use it in our business. So we have a startup with an MVP that creates online wills. And most of the market out there currently use a clause library. So you answer a question, it looks at the clause and populates that in the document. We decided to use OpenAI instead of a clause library. The only problem is trying to find a lot of data for it to learn from. So our LLM has some data in there, but trying to find a lot of raw will data for England and Wales is tough because of the very nature of wills being relatively confidential. But it seems to work okay. What we've had to do is employ a bench of solicitors and will writing experts to manually review the output for every single will that's written. We obviously can't afford for one to go out that is not valid. But we want to start now building on that. Again, I think that our issues, well, we have two issues. One is don't have an awful lot of data for the AI model to train on. But the second one is my co-founder and I are not technical. So we have an offshore dev team and they try and help us where we can. But, I think until we get a fractional CTO, we're probably a little bit bound in terms of where we can take this directionally. But at least we've got AI in there at the moment. So.
One of the really interesting things about it is that while it can make mistakes, it's actually far more accurate at checking whether it's made a mistake. So there might be some guardrails you can put in place in initial evaluations where it might get it far closer to the time and effort people are spending, and you can give it examples. And I'm assuming by training, do you mean you're fine tuning it, or are you're that's kind of the information going into the reg database that it's using as a reference?
Yeah, the information that's using for reference.
Yeah, cool. That sounds interesting. It's but challenging to get it to be perfect with those types of things. But I think we're getting a lot closer. And I think the new O1 models, while they're a bit more expensive, are going to be far more capable at checking as well.
Okay, which of the new models are you most excited about?
In the legal space, I think the OpenAI O1 model, while they're quite expensive, should be able to get you a lot quicker or a lot closer to what you need to do. Claude's Anthropic's new 3.5 Sonnet, they released the update this week. That one should have some huge capabilities as well. And the way I usually recommend it is start with the most capable models and then work your way down and try and get them cheaper. OpenAI is also kind of given the ability to do some kind of shrink their models, and the fine tuning capabilities in the different systems as well should allow you to go with cheaper models that will maintain that accuracy within your narrower use case.
Got it. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you very much, Nick. Any last questions for Eric this morning whilst he's with us? Neil?
No, I mean, no, that's very good, interesting to hear about AI from the technical perspective. I do a bit of speaking on the creative, business value, and I feel that there's a balance between, I guess, the messages to businesses, because it feels quite reactive a lot of times. You need this, you need that, and to the greatest extent, people aren't really going to understand what the technology is, and if you're a business owner, you're not really meant to, but the gap I see, especially for founders, is the consultative element of why you're doing this. What are the values? How will it improve the business that you already have, as opposed to getting really anxious about, everybody's using AI, so I need to. It's I laugh and joke about it, but do you remember when everybody needed an app? And it's just like, it's the same. And there were a stack load of businesses that went around selling apps to people for businesses who did not need them. And I feel that's the challenge. Also, it's kind of what are the business values for the things you can do that this AI is enabling you? So when we talk about, you spoke about the octopus one, I go to a lot of customer engagement conferences, and I've got connections with the Conversation Design Institute, and spoke at one of their events. It's the service that then sits on top of that that's the thing that interests me. you have all of these chatbots and you have all these things which have been negatively used by businesses to, offload their call center agents. And I feel that, it's finding the balance. And I think there's a lot of topics there, but I think there need to be more creative thoughts into this as well as technical ones, because I'm apprehensive for businesses because of the message.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. With my workshops, I've had to try really hard, and even with a really defined agenda, especially if they're non-technical, it really quickly can delve into a solution in search of a problem, and people just saying, "Oh, we should use it for this and that," and rather instead trying to reframe it from, all right, problem identification, objectives, like what are the KPIs you want to improve, and then looking at ways it can help improve that while taking into account your customer experience. Fortunately, all the companies I'm working with so far, if they want to free up time for customer service or sales or admin, it's because they've got a long list of projects and they want to use that time that's been freed up to have stronger relationships with those customers. Because especially as a lot of sales starts to get automated and everything's going to get so noisy from a spam perspective, those relationships with your customers and referrals are going to be key and growing in importance. But I know what you mean. There's lots of companies just kind of jamming it in as a feature that doesn't actually add any value.
Yeah, interesting time. But yeah, just finding that balance and finding. I think one of the things I use at the end of my talk is go and find the 10 best AI tools in your business sector, and just play with them. Don't try and understand AI as a whole. Look about how your industry is doing it, and then work out what you want to do better with AI.
Yeah,
you already
makes
do.
sense.
You already do, and then you can build from there. But rather than trying to reimagine your entire business in AI.
Yeah, no, agreed. Great points.
Eric, it's been fantastic this morning. Really do appreciate you coming on, and you're welcome back anytime. I would like to continue these talks and maybe do a regular AI clinic. I think that would be very useful for the founders in our startup stand-up community. So brilliant. You're going to get a lot of love and big ups today on LinkedIn. Look out for that. Get ready.
Excellent.
And we hope to see you soon at a weekly startup meeting. Yeah,
definitely. Cool. Oh, that's great. Well, thanks everyone. Great questions and comments and everything. So appreciate it. And thanks for having me.
Have a great weekend, and thanks again, Eric.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Cheers.
Bye.